The year is 1993. Somewhere in corporate America, the world's first relational database goes online.
Hey, Peter! Dude, I just stood up the first SQL server. I put together all the tables, I put all the IT stuff into it. Took about like 5 people, 9 months, and $1 million.
That sounds pretty interesting. There's actually, I think we can really leverage that for IT, HR, marketing, the sales department. Can we do like one thing and pump all of that data in there?
Well, yeah, you can put like multiple tables in a database, but like, don't you think they should each have their own database? SQL Server is like a platform. You can do like a database and a database and a database, like one for each one.
It probably makes more sense.
I think we can do it.
The year 1997. Titanic rules the box office. Somewhere in corporate America.
Peter, thanks for letting me borrow your VHS copy of The Nightmare Before Christmas. My kids loved it.
Thanks, dude. Did you rewind?
No, sorry.
Oh, come on, man. Be kind. Rewind.
Oh, okay. Well, okay, this will make you happy. I just put together the first ASP-powered website for the IT team, putting together all our services on one page. They just go to the internal website, and everything's there for IT.
Was it easy to implement?
No, it took like 5 people and like 9 months and like $1 million.
We've got some similar things with marketing, HR, sales. Can we do something similar for them, just have all their stuff there?
Well, yeah, you can put like more hyperlinks on the bottom or something, but like we could probably do like one for each. There's this new thing called SharePoint. Oh. You can actually do like multiple sites and multiple pages, and it's a platform, so you don't need to do one for each. We can make one for each much more easily.
Probably makes more sense.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Let's do it.
Sounds good.
The year 2010. The cloud is born.
Peter. We just put together our first few web apps in our Azure subscription. Went really well. Took about 5 people in 9 months and $1 million.
Can we do that for marketing, HR, sales?
Like all in one subscription? That's going to get really chaotic.
Why can't we give them access to Azure?
We could, but how about we like give them each their own subscription, and they can do what they want in there. It's a platform. You can kind of just have one for each, and it'll work great.
Awesome. Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
Let's
do it.
The time is now.
All right, we made our first bot. That was really hard. Bot framework. We got it publishing into all the channels there. I got it on the website. I got it in Teams. I got it in a lot of places. It's all the IT services put together, like ServiceNow and a couple of things connected together. It went really well. There was a lot of C# in there, though. I know you don't want to hear this, but it took about 5 people about 9 months, and it was about $1 million.
Can we do something similar? One bot for HR, marketing, sales?
Be like one bot for each. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Okay.
There isn't really a platform for doing that yet. I did go to Microsoft Ignite, though, and there were these 2 guys who were talking about LiveTiles bots. Welcome, everyone. Hello, my name is Eric Ralston. I am the chief architect at LiveTiles.
And my name is Peter van Aarde. I'm product manager for LiveTiles bots in particular, so welcome.
Yes, and we're here to talk today about the brand new world of interactive virtual assistants and how we finally have a platform where you can make one for each, and it doesn't cost you as much with as many people or as long. Okay? The audience for this talk is threefold, most critically. First off, devs trying to make a bot, particularly if you have a lot of curious people inside of your company for a bot, and you're about to kick off your first project. This is not a technical talk about how to make the bot. This is a socio-political commentary on what it takes to get your business people to agree upon what the bot will do. Okay? Because as you know, this is not an act of technology most of the time. It's often an act of politics. So we're going to help you with that. Also, the IT decision makers who might be on the other side of that conversation, who are trying to demystify what a bot could be, and in particular, you don't want to risk having a bot that fails, you would like to maybe partner with a product company that has made many bots, has a lot of satisfied customers, and would like to know more, or you would like to know more about how to get started. Finally, people who lived through the 90s, so you could actually get my Nightmare Before Christmas and Titanic jokes. Okay? Very important. The background on bots. Tell us about bots. Peter's been doing a lot of work with bots. You're probably the expert, I would say.
I wouldn't call myself the expert, but yeah, so bots, as a lot of you may be aware, started becoming quite popular a few years ago, especially around when Facebook made it available with their messaging service. And usually it's more targeted at the consumer environment. So bots talking to your customers to get product information, book flights, order pizzas. Every second bot demo that's available out there helps you to order pizza. So that's where it all started, and it evolved from there. And we're now getting to the stage where it's much more interesting to look at, well, how can we use that inside organizations behind the firewall to improve employee engagement? How can bots be leveraged to engage your employees in an organization behind the firewall, interacting with all the content and information that they deal with on a daily basis?
Yes, and this follows into the greater theme, pretty much the theme of the conference from the moment Satya started speaking through to most of the sessions. We are in this time that LiveTiles likes to call intelligent transformation. Most of us have been on a maybe 10-year-ish journey of digital transformation. We're migrating things to the cloud, taking things from paper to electrons. Those have been important recurring themes over the past decade, and a lot of advancement in productivity has come from that. But we are now at the next stage where applying artificial intelligence, machine learning, bringing in capabilities like virtual assistants will become not just the expectation, but the table stakes for your organization in order to continue to deliver a higher productivity, better usability experience for your customers. This is a massive investment area for most organizations. Gartner says that by 2020, AI technologies will be the top 5 investment priorities for more than 30% of CIOs. Between now, McKinsey actually goes further than these quotes here. McKinsey says that by the year 2030, organizations who are early adopters of artificial intelligence technologies will more than likely have their cash revenue double, and laggard organizations will have their revenues drop by 20%. So if not now, then in the next decade, your organizations need to be going on the journey of intelligent transformation just to keep up. And maybe if you start now, get ahead. Okay? The key capabilities that bots can do right now, there's a little bit of automating routine work that they can do, but they are not going to solve all of their problems. Mostly, you can get a usability and productivity boost out of them by making it so it's easier to discover your services, and it is a shorter interaction for those services to be executed. Okay? Organic discovery of things like, I want to ask the IT organization, what is wrong with my computer? You can put in front of them a knowledge base where if maybe that doesn't satisfy their needs, you can jump into the IT ticketing system. It transitions within one conversation, and it does it completely based on that personal interaction with the individual user. Yep. This is probably also the easiest first AI initiative for your company because it has this excellent bang for buck. It's in their pockets of every employee, and you can see it immediately. At LiveTiles, we call it something called a CoBot. CoBots are actually a manufacturing industry term for these rapid deployment machines where non-technical staff can train, for instance, a mechanical arm on how to do a manufacturing activity without programming it with code. And the goal inside of LiveTiles is to provide that CoBot experience where this is a low or no code solution to deploy your first bot. A very easy integration path with good extensibility if your developers need to go into something more custom. But ultimately, we are here to augment every employee in your enterprise and do it in as personal a way as possible without all of them needing to have shown up to Ignite to go to every bot framework session to understand what's going on. Okay? And really, in a lot of ways, the best way to think about bots, maybe the first step in the rhetoric around it, we like to think about it as there's about to be a hiring revolution here in the world. We are going to go from organizations that are purely people to organizations augmented by artificial intelligence-powered assistants. You are about to hire resources, not by HR, but by IT, that need to be as personable and as friendly and as unbiased and as ethical as any other employee that you would want to hire. Okay? How do you get that wrapped around the heads of your developers who maybe don't even like talking to the business organization or are too hard-pressed by deadlines to really sit down? Okay? Trying to overcome those problems is exactly what we're about. We believe that the bots can be applied in many places across the enterprises. There's 4 key scenarios. And you should probably take the picture at the end of this slide in case any of you start to get excited by the slide. There's 4 key scenarios. So first off would be the personal assistant bots, the most obvious one. Individuals within the company could get a lot less, could do a lot less email and go to a lot fewer web pages if they had a personal assistant that was able to just help them do what they need done. These could be, you could envision them being, maybe offhand you think that's a standard bot. It's not. It can be customized to their individual needs. The next one would be a team assistant bot. This bot would do scenarios that are within a team, helping them collaborate. Maybe your developers need access to their Azure DevOps, and there could be a bot on top of that. Maybe your HR needs access to Workday, and there could be a bot on top of that. If you think about it then across the enterprise between teams, you could have a bot that coordinates services from one team to another. These are called enterprise assistants, what we call them, where IT fronts their service desk through a bot. So you reach out to the bot, and the bot is able to handle kind of a level 0 support kind of request before it advances to even a human. Finally, we have so you could have many variations of that. And finally, we have the external collaboration bot, where you could land something on your extranet that would help your partners, your vendors, your collaborating other organizations. Rather than reaching out to humans every time, rather than disturbing people, you could come by and you could get a lot of key information out of just an interactive conversation. So when you think across the organization, there's going to be this mass hiring of brand new employees. And like most employees, they have unique skill sets. Offhand, you could think of, oh yeah, I can understand a personal assistant for the CEO. Like, they're a busy person. They need to get a lot done. I can think of a personal assistant. Yeah, they'll check my email for me and like tell me what my meetings are and make it so I can make a meeting. And everybody needs that. But really, you're not going to get a lot of value out of the bots giving one standard bot to everyone in your organization. What you really need is those single use cases that spread across their daily life. The morning, the afternoon, and the evening of your employees are not all the same. So why would you make it so the abilities of the bot are all the same? Finally, cost of deployment. My good friend Peter, what does it take to make a bot nowadays?
Before this week with Ignite, it was quite a process using all of the core awesome technologies that Microsoft provides in terms of bot framework, cognitive services for language modeling, all of these things. It's all awesome technologies, but there was quite a bit of effort involved in pulling the different pieces together and getting the bot built end to end. You needed some skills for your development team. If you had that, there's a learning curve around how to effectively build language models and all of these things. With Microsoft's recent release of Bot Framework v4, that a lot of that pain goes away, but there's still some technical know-how that you need to kind of educate the developers on who's going to build your bots. And that's where LiveTiles comes in. Also, a lot of those bots, we've seen it quite regularly with customer conversations. They've already gone through the journey with their internal dev teams or a third-party development house that they might use. And they've built a really successful, awesome bot using the Microsoft technologies. But now they realize, okay, now every other department, sales, marketing, HR, want the exact same bot. And they realize, well, the scalability is a bit of an issue. There's not really a lot of personalization. Each of those departments work differently. Individuals work differently. HR requires very different things in the day-to-day that they want to interact with their bot compared to the sales team, for example. So what LiveTiles tries to do with all of this stuff built on top of the Microsoft technologies is really streamline and remove a lot of that complexity and speed up the whole process so that you can much quicker, much easier build in that personalization personalize your bot however you want, and provide the different targeted use case bots for the different departments very quickly, very easily, without having to reinvent the wheel almost every time.
Go to the next one.
Yep. As I mentioned, we also find that the approach of multiple bots resonates and works really well compared to the original starting point, especially on the consumer side of bots, where the whole bot movement kind of started. Like we mentioned at the start, they were very focused on kind of one bot that covers a whole range of things. Let's get one bot for the organization, everybody uses it. And that's where we also see things starting to fall over quite regularly. And it's just because at the end of the day, something like a language model, natural language processing, all it really is pretty much a probability model. So the more stuff, the more options you add in there, the lower any one of those intents that the bot needs to identify, the lower the chance or the more noise there is almost. So what we find works really, really well is rather focus on very targeted, specific bots for specific use cases. And you can really tailor those language models to make sure they're very accurate, very reliable, and they can be tweaked and personalized, like we mentioned, specific to a particular department where they're going to get used, or even particular users, if it's some of these virtual assistant type bots that we're talking about. Part of this also is what I already touched on, the dynamic language models. So each organization is different. So just buying an out-of-the-box bot that covers help desk ticketing requests, every organization has their own way that they refer to their internal systems or the products that they might have, or all of these different things. Every organization is different. Take that a step further, each department in an organization is different. Like we mentioned, HR works very differently on a daily basis to the sales team, to the IT support team. So being able to tailor for those individual departments based on what they need and really empowering them to get exactly what they require with their interactions with the bot. And taking that the step further, like we mentioned, even going as far as virtual assistants for every person in the organization with dynamic language models that can be targeted to them. For Eric, he'll have Titanic and Harry Potter quotes in his bot. I might not need that. So really being able to customize the language models to individuals in the organization even, to make sure that they engage with the bot in a way that works for them and really get that engagement going. So with the LiveTiles bots, taking all of this together, every employee can have a personal virtual assistant. We can connect to a whole range of services out there, whether that's native integrations into different APIs. Some of the stuff we're working on is also about empowering technical teams you may have internally already in the business, or again, whether it's a third-party development house. So you can extend the platform yourselves. If you have a team that's quite technical and already have a few APIs built to the different systems that your organization uses, if for some reason we don't have that integration with our bots, you can build that and start using it. There's no reason to limit the systems that you can integrate with. Finally, also, one of the key focus areas for us with the LiveTiles bots is around like I mentioned there, the traditional use case of everything running through IT. So IT department had a project around bots, and they had to upskill all of the team and get budget and all of these things to get the bots deployed. So with LiveTiles bots, we put a layer of abstraction on top of that so that you don't need to use those technical resources. You can have the people in the HR department that might be proficient with drag and drop type of functionality empowering them. They are the subject matter experts in HR. They know what kind of bot makes sense for use in the HR department. So empowering those users to be able to configure and build their bot through some drag and drop functionality. Same thing for people in the sales team. So really removing, almost democratizing the creation of bots throughout the organization so that you don't have that bottleneck of it also always needing to go to the development team. I mentioned earlier where some customers of ours, some organizations, they've had really successful bots deployed internally, and then everybody, all the other departments sees the success of this particular bot, and then that team just gets hammered with requests. Yeah, we want a bot, and it's just about the scalability. They can't, in a reasonable time frame, deliver that. So that's what we're about.
Yes, similar to what Peter was saying, that sort of time to delivery is probably the first key of why you would want to adopt a platform rather than run projects. So I used to work at an organization called Pacific Northwest National Laboratory in Eastern Washington, and it was a government contractor where they moved at a glacial pace in the adoption of technology. They finally introduced this amazing technology while I was first there called SharePoint. It was probably the year 2007, I would say. It was very late in the game. You're like, that's been around for a decade. And they finally had this team that was able to go, this is a great idea for a project. How about we just spin up a site and we'll do a little bit of customization and then we'll rapidly deliver it. It'll probably take about 2 weeks. And that was completely revolutionary because they had been doing ASP.NET applications by hand with teams of developers for years on end. And that kind of rapid deployment scenario is exactly what they were after. And that the equivalence we attempted to humorously make in the opening of when you get a platform, you can make something for everyone rather than trying to run a project and trying to code out everything. You also get the possibility of decentralized creation. This notion of people in their own organizations can make it, and then centralized administration where the IT still gets to keep control and manage the reins. So again, the equivalent of, say, a SharePoint, you can spin up a team site independently. IT can still see the total overview from a main console. Same thing in most of the Office 365 services. The difference between spinning up something in Azure versus spinning up, say, another project inside of Microsoft Project, or spinning up another team inside of Teams, they're decentralized in their creation and management, but IT still has the reins. IT owns the platform, the business owns the experience. That is the exact target that we're going after with LiveTiles bots.
So now you want to start your journey with bots in the organization. It's all about the use case. We've seen a few requests and had a few people come to us and the conversation goes something like, yeah, we want a chatbot. Okay, what's the problem you're trying to solve? No, I was at a conference, I saw chatbots, they're the new cool hip thing. I just want a chatbot. We want to be modern. We don't really care about the problem. That is not really a good approach because you're almost guaranteed of failure before you start. At the end of the day, bots are still just a way of solving a problem. There needs to be a real business problem that you're trying to address, and that's absolutely key. Ideally, as you can see there, it's a task that every employee needs every day. So go for the low-hanging fruit. Is it in the support team where they just get hammered with questions on a daily basis, and they are so pushed for time that they aren't able to spend the time with those more detailed, more intricate, more complicated support tickets because they get hammered by the 10 or 20 questions that everybody's asking. That's a perfect case for a bot. Having real KPIs against the bot. How would you measure success for this bot? Is it a 30% reduction in support? Is it allowing users to more easily get to the policy information that they need, that usually they now have to go and hunt for in different document libraries and things, giving them an easy spot to just quickly and easily through a bot get the information that they need. Make sure there's some real measurable KPIs. it has to be simpler, easier, and faster with the bot than anything else. Humans will always take the path of least resistance. If it's going to be a 4-click process through the bot, but it's only a 1-click process on the current intranet homepage, nobody's going to use the bot. It must make it simpler and more frictionless than what the current process may be, whatever the use case. There's some don'ts. Like I mentioned, just using a bot for the sake of a bot, you're almost guaranteed of failure before you even start. Throwing a bot at any problem won't solve the problem. Bots, chatbots in particular, conversational UI, as it's also referred to, is not a silver bullet or the big red button solution that will resolve any problem. It's, especially in this case of conversational UI, it's more just a different UI layer on top of existing system integrations. So if it's search or content discovery, like I mentioned, hunting for documents in different locations, well, that's in reality just a search problem. Here, the bot can sit on top of that and give the users another avenue of discovering that content, but the bot itself doesn't go and scrape all the information in all these different locations. Is a conversation even the right approach for the particular use case? Having some of the other talks and sessions mentioned the example of, do you really want a bot to be prompting you, especially when you add the component of voice, to have then authentication involved there? Do you really want to, through voice, read out your password to be able to authenticate to a particular system? That's not really, conversation isn't always the right approach, especially also for text-heavy interactions where, again, using the example of hunting for policy information. So just dumping out 4 paragraphs of text in a chat environment, that's not a very pleasant user experience because now most of the times they're on a small device or something like that. So think about the use case. How will users interact with that? And like I mentioned, solve a real problem. Don't just implement a bot for the sake of having one. I touched on conversational UI already, and it's very different to a graphical user interface. So keep that in mind. It comes into play with building your bot. So from a development and design perspective, everything that works in a graphical interface, if you have a site with buttons and links and images and these kind of things, it's very visual. Before your users even start interacting with it, they can kind of see what's where before they then start engaging with the content. With a bot, on the other hand, it's conversational. So most of the times, if you just start with a blank bot, all they see is a blinking cursor. So it's very intimidating for users to then think of, okay, well, what can this thing do? I'm going to break something if I just ask anything. All of us know about, or who've interacted with some of these smart speakers or Siri on your phone or these kind of things. If you go outside of the bounds of what it's meant to do, it fails pretty quick. So keep that in mind as well. Conversations are very different to graphical or the traditional kind of UIs where it's much more visual. Get users in the room to help design the conversation. How do you expect the conversation to go? One thing we always tell our customers when we start the initial phase of fleshing out the use case and so on, okay, what does the conversation look like? Get 2 people to send each other text messages. One's the bot, one's the user. What does that look like? What do you expect? And make sure you flesh out that use case so that everybody's on the same page of what's realistic and what's not. Have fun. Don't pretend to be a human. That was something, it's kind of scaled back a little bit now, but when bots first became very prominent, it's almost as if bot builders or people who had bots, organizations, it's almost like they were trying to dupe users into thinking they were talking to a real human. There's no point really in doing that. I mean, sooner rather than later, at some stage, the user's going to be able to identify that they're talking to a bot, incorporate that. Have fun with it. Make it part of the experience. Don't try and kind of don't try and hide that fact from your users. It results in a quite bad user experience when it goes wrong. Finally, also make sure you provide a guided user experience. That touches on the first point on that slide as well. Conversational UI is much different. So how do you guide the user with prompts or questions? Or, yeah, you asked me this question, here's the answer. Here's some similar related questions around the same topic that you may be able to ask me. Provide a welcome message with some suggestions of how users can interact with the bot. So that guided experience is also really, really powerful. Finally, before we jump into a demo, who of you are familiar with QnA Maker from Microsoft? Yep, awesome. So what we find is that's usually the starting point. Most organizations who come to us with a request for a bot, when we do some discovery and think about use cases and these kind of things, this is where most people start. We also leverage QnA Maker from Microsoft heavily, but we've learned a few things along the way and added a few features that I'll show you on the next slide in a bit of a demo. And even though it's very simple, the technology from Microsoft through QnA Maker is awesome. It's very easy to just point it to your FAQ website and you have a bot within a few minutes. Your website's FAQ page, the content isn't always structured that it makes sense in a bot. Sometimes FAQ pages on a website, they tend to also have a few paragraphs within an answer. So again, coming back to that user experience, now dumping all that text into a small little chat window, it's not a very engaging user experience. It's just an overwhelming text dump. So how do you break that content down, add some of these additional, more interesting UI features in to really engage with the user and make sure they receive or they get to the outcome that they're trying to achieve. So we'll quickly jump into a bit of a demo here. So this is something around this Q&A guided experience specifically that we've done. Under the hood, it's just QnA Maker. But what we've seen is very, very often companies also, again, who's built successful bots with QnA Maker from Microsoft, they then get to the next step of, okay, they want to add some of these interesting UI components, adaptive cards. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with adaptive cards, also provided by Microsoft. So you can add that in, but it's a bit of a manual process. Again, you need developers to hook the different pieces together, add in the adaptive card functionality. So what we've done and what really resonates well with some of our customers is we've just provided a UI layer over the top of that combines this. So basically, it's questions, a list of questions in this particular knowledge base. If we then go into that particular one, I need to log in.
So Peter, that's an interesting question. Can the bot speak more than just text and cards? What else can I put into a bot message?
The possibilities are endless.
Is it maybe that one of those hypertext thingies I've always heard about? Oh, wait. You're the business guy. I'm the developer. So bots themselves, they can actually send in their messages things like images. Or they could even do something like render from an Excel spreadsheet a graph that's on the sheet using Microsoft Graph, and then send it straight onto the user. You don't have to restrict yourself to just textual conversation.
True, exactly right. So what you see here, this is now just going into one of those questions. For the people who are familiar with QnA Maker, this should make sense. So you've got different variations of asking the same question from the user. But then here on the left, what we have is some JSON code that basically just builds out the adaptive card. So as you can see here, this is what the answer will look like in our bot. So we've got buttons, some URLs, you can embed images. There's a whole range of things. So think about how you can improve or provide that more engaging UI experience for your users. Is it a case of just providing a short little text blurb, and then pointing them in the direction of the correct document if it's policy information. What that looks like when you have a bot, this is just a basic Q&A bot again that we've built, and then it provides some more interesting UI, all these kind of things powered by adaptive cards under the hood. So it's quite a seamless experience to build all of this, and then very engaging and interesting for the users to use compared to the normal kind of stuff. I'll just quickly also show you the LiveTiles bot designer. So this is what our bot designer looks like. There's a whole list of abilities that we're working on that you can drag into the bot. Like Eric mentioned, we out of the box support everything connected to the Graph API from Microsoft. So anything Office 365, whether that's OneDrive, your Outlook stuff, Planner, Teams even. We then also have things like Q&A, ServiceNow, all these different integrations. And it's very easy to just update your bots and add some of this functionality in. We abstract all of that complexity around some of the language models and things and dynamically go and provision those Lewis models in the backend for you.
Peter, I couldn't help but wonder, so on that last screen that we went over, how does a user actually build out their language model? Like, can I define a language model being someone who doesn't even know how to code, or do I need to be a developer?
You don't need to be a developer.
Oh.
If we jump into the meeting ability here, you'll see there's some target keywords, and for the book meeting intent, for those of you familiar with Lewis models, there's some trigger words or some keywords over here. And based on what you enter here through this visual UI, we just dynamically go and generate a language model that's still customizable if you guys have someone with expertise on building effective Lewis models, but all of that is still fully customizable.
So in a lot of ways, the user's building their own dictionary, and then you take that dictionary and it just rolls out into a language model in Azure. Do I then have to, like, do any other deployments in Azure or anything like that?
We take care of all of that.
That's amazing. So what kind of, like, where can the user actually talk to the bot? Because, like, you showed a thing in a web page. But what kind of stuff can you, where can we actually talk to the bot?
Anything supported by the bot framework. So those chat windows that I just showed earlier, that's all web chat. We skin it a bit differently to add some of this additional functionality. But out of the box, anything supported by the bot framework, so whether that's Teams, Skype for Business, email, text, any of those are supported.
Very cool. So the last area that I would really like to emphasize, and a lot of presentations this week have actually emphasized this first, so now I feel bad about the order I put it in the presentation. But there's a difference between an AI solution and a standard solution for your IT needs, particularly in the realm of ethics, because you are making this probability model, as Peter said. You need to feed it this information that sets it up. And in the area of virtual assistants, you would actually think of it as rather harmless. You're like, well, what's the worst thing a virtual assistant can do? I could understand maybe an AI bot that it's a real big challenge to figure out if an autonomous vehicle is going down the street and the autonomous vehicle sees a crowd of people, what should it do? Should it run into the crowd of people, or maybe should it just swerve the car into a wall and kill the driver? Mathematically, that's fewer people. That's a big ethical challenge. There's people grappling with it right now. Insurance companies are paying millions of dollars to tell their actuaries literally what the machine should do. Virtual assistance seems really harmless compared to that. What could possibly go wrong? But there's still two key areas that I would highlight in the realm of AI ethics that applies to virtual assistants even in the enterprise. That would be the areas of creating bias in your system, and then accessibility, because there are individuals in your organizations that have a different means of interacting, different limitations in interacting. The first area, the thought leadership that we have had at LiveTiles around this area did earn us a award from AIconics in the greatest contribution to ethics, gender equality, and diversity in AI this year. We speak often about how if we're going to enter the age of intelligent transformation, it needs to be the age of ethical transformation in the eyes of the technologists. We are taking over more and more responsibility of how people are treated in the day-to-day life of their jobs You spend more hours at your job than doing any other single activity in your life, aside from perhaps sleeping. And those waking hours, the decisions that you make as IT professionals affect the waking hours of the people in your organization. And you need to be treating them kindly. Even if you have a deadline, even if you have political uprising in your stakeholders, you still need to treat your people nicely. So the first, one of the easiest areas to demonstrate in bias is, of course, light-skinned versus dark-skinned in the world of computer vision. If you're familiar with, say, the Windows Hello feature on your laptop, where you show your face to the laptop and it unlocks, there's a long history of it basically not working well for African Americans because they have dark skin, and it doesn't contrast well. Now, part of that is a lighting issue, but part of that is, honestly, in independent studies, for instance, the MIT Media Lab, led by a very amazing lady named Joy Buolamwini. She did an analysis of popular vision frameworks available on the market right now, and across the board, black women they are only sensitive about 2/3 of the time to them. They could have a 30% failure rate very easily, as opposed to white men, where they have an easily 97+% pass rate. In the world of AI, that seems fairly harmless if you're just talking about unlocking your laptop. But if you're saying that the data sets that we're feeding our algorithms are excluding certain groups, imagine if this young black woman was trying to get scanned for melanoma. Is the skin cancer going to be detected only 2/3 of the time for this young lady because the data set was mostly white people? So there are a lot of challenges in this area, and you are all becoming AI developers and AI business owners. You need to have conversations along these lines. In the world of virtual assistants, I would specifically point out that there are language and culture differences. Not only am I saying that you should support more than one language, you have global businesses. As the roadmap for Microsoft supportive languages roll out, we are following along quite closely. At this point, a virtual assistant in English or Mandarin Chinese is really the only workable options. There's limitations in other languages. LUIS, the Language Understanding Intelligence Service that backs our models, does have about 14 or 15 more languages that they are working on, but they are not as complete or robust. We are managing such that when those languages come online, we'll be sure to support building out models in those languages. Then, as you saw from our UI right now, supporting more than one culture. So, Peter, where do you live?
I live in Australia.
Australia, all right. Well, I live in America. In America, we like to go on paid time off. Okay? What do they call that in Australia?
Leave. I'd like to take some leave.
You're going to leave? That's weird. The last time I left the job, it meant I quit. That's strange. In America, I would say vacation. Okay? So is it discrimination to make someone rewire their brain momentarily to speak in a different culture or not? Seems very minor. But what if every single intent in the bot, you had to remap your brain just a little bit? That extra level of load is very, like I said, it could be overwhelming. You have a unique opportunity with bots. The bot really could speak Australian English to Peter and really could speak American English to me. It could really be personalized to that degree. You can't do that with a web page, at least not easily, but you could do that with a dynamic language model with a bot. And because we allow configuration, we can support that out of the box. The next area would be accessibility. There are people, particularly I'd point out, people who are legally blind. There's millions of them in the US, and there's something like 1 out of 20 people are legally blind or will become legally blind. There's also very, very much a difference in visual perception between ages that you should keep in mind. Your older workforce and your younger workforce are going to have different levels of reading ability on a mobile device. So when you're embedding that chat widget into that website, and you're making sure the site is mobile responsive, and then you're making sure the chat widget itself is mobile responsive, and then you're making sure the text is actually visible or in some way scalable, those are all little challenges that you might not think about if you're just an able-bodied 20-something-year-old developer inside your company. Okay? And these accessibility concerns are, again, a complete golden opportunity, actually. Because when you fire up a screen reader to point at a web page, it sometimes has to go through the entire page, reading inaccurate tags and trying to figure out left to right. It might do things like rattle off the menu every single time you hit one of the pages on a site. But with a conversational bot, it's only speaking the interaction language. It is a golden opportunity for better accessibility. And if you design the conversation with thought, it will actually increase accessibility inside of your organization. As long as you think to yourself, wow, people who are blind are going to need audio assistance with it. Text-to-speech, speech-to-text. There's exciting developments in the Azure platform around that. They exposed another cognitive service they announced on Monday that is text-to-speech, speech-to-text in a box. Awesome. Sounds like one more requirement your stakeholders are going to put down on your developers. I wish there was a platform that did this. So finally, if you are venturing off into this slightly sci-fi world of artificial intelligence programming, I would give you actually a really good suggestion. There was this great lady who has an amazing TED Talk named Jane McGonigal. She actually talks about how video games create communities and how they're wonderfully stimulating on young minds, and you shouldn't deride people. And she had a very good ethical argument for why gaming is great. You should go out and see her TED Talk, Jane McGonigal. It's really amazing. She's joined this organization that's part of the Institute for the Future. And they've put together something called ethicalos.org. LiveTiles is in no way affiliated with this organization. I just think it's great, and you should go to it and try it. They put together this toolkit of activities that challenge you in about 14 scenarios, different AI scenarios, and how you would react, giving you a raw capability or an initiative inside of a company. Just to give you a bizarre example, you know, what's going to happen when IoT devices are embedded in everyday objects and it feeds directly back to medical organizations? What are the things in your house? You know, how about the drains in your sink to try to figure out how well you're doing washing your hands? Okay. What about the drain in your shower to try to figure out what's the germs on your body? And then, bizarrely enough, how about an IoT toilet that will really get in there and scan? These are actually all it sounds really bizarre and really invasive. But they're actually all real. We're at a point where it's $10 more for someone to do that. It's blowing my mind. They really do pose, what are the ethical challenges of AI and IoT coming together? Some of these activities really are things that might affect your businesses. And they sound like sci-fi, but they are so fun to go through with a team. The possibilities that you guys are going into are completely endless. And LiveTiles would like to try to help you not only navigate the technological challenges of this, but the ethical challenges of this. So please check out ethicalos.org. It's a great fun activity, completely free, completely fun. And I believe this is the point where we tell you, you guys should come by our booth. So we have a giant purple robot. We are near the center with all the Microsoft booths. There's some really good Microsoft swag across the way too. So there's some good Microsoft swag. There's some okay LiveTiles swag. You know, it's pretty good. And just come by at 15:06. Peter and I will be there for the rest of the afternoon. If you want to know more about bots, we will also be in this room for a bit of extra time. I am told that we have an extra 26 minutes of being in this room because we nailed it. And we're giving back to you an extra 20 minutes of time to enjoy the expo, to get one more soda out of those refrigerators, to maybe get one more ice cream. I think this is ice cream snack time. I'm very excited. You guys are going to have 20 minutes of time advantage to get an ice cream snack. I'm very excited. And finally, we want you to just, whatever you guys are doing, go back to your business, make a Q&A, try out bots. If you want a little bit more than that, we have LiveTiles Q&A bot builder. We then have LiveTiles bots. And then we have a lot more things we can show you at our booth. Thank you very much for coming by. We can also take questions. Anybody who gives the first question has a special prize. You will get a VHS copy of The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Well done.
No, seriously, anyone. There is a tape in here. You know what it says on it? Please rewind tape.
I think we have a question.
Do you have a question? All right.
I have a question. When we talk about multiple bots, I am thinking about if it makes sense to have a...
Congratulations. Take it back to your friends at Avanade. Let's give a round for Klaus. Yes.
If it makes sense to have a universal bot for the enterprise with a lot of skills below, or if we should provide a lot of separate bots. I think when we have maybe 100 or more skills, then it might be difficult to access the bot. We have currently an adoption program in a real-life situation where the difficulty is for the users, for the end users, to find the bot.
Yeah.
We don't want to have a mess of a lot of more bookmarks and more landing pages to find them.
Yeah, exactly right. So with this approach of multiple bots, instead of one entry point, one bot that users go to, it does add the complexity or again, a discoverability problem. Which bot does a user then need to go to for particular queries? So we've got a few things that we're working on in terms of that. The first one is making some of the official bots in the organization aware of each other. So if you're talking to the official IT support bot and your query is more related to HR, that bot being able to pass you off to the HR bot to then handle that query. Taking that a step further, if none of the bots are able to address the issue, being able to connect the user with a subject matter expert in the organization, whether that's someone in the IT team or in HR or whatever the case may be. So that's where we're going with that. Another thing that we're now working on implementing with the bot framework v4 announcements earlier this week, and in particular allowing for multiple Lewis models using the dispatcher functionality. Making use of that, you can absolutely have that concierge bot almost, or the one entry point bot, and from there, that bot can redirect you to the relevant bot based on the nature of the query.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, please come on by the booth. We're officially out of VHS tapes, but we can watch some YouTube videos, I guess. That's what the kids do these days.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.